Imagine paying more for groceries, utilities, and rent every single month, even though your paycheck hasn't changed in years. In 2026, that's the new reality across much of Canada. Prices are climbing faster than pay, and even the provinces once known for affordability are buckling under the weight of inflation. So today, we're counting down the top 10 Canadian provinces that are becoming too expensive to live in 2026. Some of these places might shock you, and number one will surprise you most. Stay tuned, because by the end of this list, you'll see exactly why the great Canadian dream is costing more than ever before. Number 10. Newfoundland and Labrador. Newfoundland and Labrador has always offered rugged beauty and tight-knit communities, but lately, that charm comes with a heavy price tag. The province may advertise affordable homes, yet day-to-day life tells a different story. Population, about 522,000, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 156,000 square miles. Density, around 3 people per square mile. Lots of space, but rising bills. Newfoundland's winters are long, cold, and unpredictable. Heavy winds off the Atlantic and frequent storms mean heating systems run for 8 months of the year. That pushes monthly energy bills among the highest in Canada, with some households paying over $400 a month for heat alone. Wages have barely moved while essential costs have soared. Many traditional industries, fishing, oil, and public sector work, face uncertainty. Average household income sits below the national median, which means residents spend a larger share of earnings on basic necessities than people in most other provinces. Everything costs more to bring in. Food and construction materials arrive by sea or air, adding a price premium to nearly every product. Groceries have risen over 10% year over year, and shipping delays can leave store shelves bare. Median home prices hover around $280,000 estimate, but with soaring insurance and power bills, many families say it no longer feels cheap to own a home here. There's no question the province is stunning. Dramatic cliffs, friendly neighbors, and a slower pace of life that's hard to find elsewhere. But that peace comes at a price when heating oil, food, and transport eat half your paycheck. For many Newfoundlanders, it's no longer about wanting to stay. It's about whether they can afford to. A place that once felt like a refuge from big city costs is now struggling with an affordability crisis of its own. Number 9. Prince Edward Island. Prince Edward Island is small, beautiful, and peaceful, but it's quietly becoming one of the most expensive places in Atlantic Canada to live. On paper, PEI still looks affordable. In reality, island life now comes with island prices. Population, about 175,000 in 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 2,200 square miles. Density, around 80 people per square mile. Compact, charming, and costly. The island's weather is harsh on budgets. Long snowy winters mean high heating bills, while coastal winds and storms cause frequent damage and drive up home insurance rates. Shipping interruptions during bad weather also add cost to imported goods, which on an island means nearly everything. Tourism and agriculture keep PEI's economy alive, but both are seasonal. When the tourists leave in September, so do many of the jobs. Inflation has hit the island's wages hard. Average weekly earnings remain among the lowest in Canada, making it tough for families to handle rising grocery and housing prices. The median home price sits around $360,000 estimate, up nearly 40% from pre-pandemic levels. Renters are feeling it too, with Charlottetown's average rent surpassing $1,400 for a one-bedroom. Food prices are another problem. By some reports, PEI's grocery bills have risen more than 20% since 2021, largely due to fuel and shipping costs. Even though healthcare and schooling are free, the day-to-day expenses are pushing locals to rethink their roots. There's no denying the beauty. Red cliffs, peaceful farms, friendly faces, and quiet beaches. For retirees or remote workers with stable incomes, it's paradise. But for locals relying on seasonal or service wages, PEI has become a place where living the simple life is anything but simple. Number 8. Nova Scotia.
For years, Nova Scotia was the hidden gem of Canada. Affordable homes, friendly communities, and oceanfront views that felt priceless. But in 2026, those prices are starting to show up on the receipts. Population, about 1.3 million, 2026 estimate. Area, around 21,300 square miles. Density, roughly 48 people per square mile, but most clustered near Halifax. Nova Scotia's maritime climate means unpredictable costs. Cold winters stretch heating seasons longer, while summer storms and hurricanes have increased property insurance premiums. Coastal flooding threats are also pushing up rates in vulnerable zones, adding hundreds to annual bills. Halifax's population boom brought new jobs, but also skyrocketing costs. Rents in the city have surged by more than 25% since 2022, with vacancy rates near historic lows. Even outside Halifax, wages haven't caught up. The average Nova Scotian earns around 15% less than the national average, yet faces rising prices on nearly every essential. Housing affordability is collapsing fast this year. The median home price is around $450,000 estimate, a massive leap from a few years ago when $250,000 could still buy a family home. Groceries and gas are also higher than the Canadian average because of shipping and import costs. For many residents, even staying close to Halifax means commuting long distances. The culture remains unmatched. Lively music, seafood, friendly locals, and the kind of scenic beauty that draws people from across the country. But that East Coast charm now comes with West Coast prices. Nova Scotia's affordability advantage is gone, and for many locals, the ocean view isn't worth the monthly squeeze anymore. Number 7. New Brunswick. For years, New Brunswick was Canada's best-kept secret. Peaceful towns, low crime, and bargain home prices. But that reputation is quickly disappearing. Population, about 820,000, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 28,000 square miles. Density, around 29 people per square mile. Plenty of space, but shrinking affordability. New Brunswick's winters are long and cold, pushing heating costs up every year. Many rural homes still rely on oil or propane, both of which have surged in price. Even moderate snowstorms can disrupt supply chains, making grocery and gas prices fluctuate week to week. The province's wages have remained some of the lowest in the country, while inflation continues to climb. Healthcare and education sectors are straining, forcing workers to commute long distances or relocate. With limited high-paying industries, residents are feeling squeezed, spending more of their income just to stay afloat. The median home price sits around $340,000 estimate, which seems low compared to Toronto or Vancouver, but property taxes have increased in many municipalities and electricity costs remain above the national average. Groceries are about 10% higher than before the pandemic, and with higher insurance premiums and transportation costs, the affordability gap between income and expenses keeps widening. Even renting has become difficult, with vacancy rates under 2% in some cities. New Brunswick still offers a sense of calm and safety that big city residents envy. Beautiful rivers, friendly neighbors, and affordable leisure make life pleasant if you can manage the bills. A decade ago, New Brunswick was where people escaped high costs. Now it's where many wonder how long their savings will last. Number 6. Manitoba. For generations, Manitoba marketed itself as affordable, stable, and livable, but that slogan doesn't land quite the same in 2026. Population, about 1.4 million 2026 estimate. Area, nearly 250,000 square miles. Density, roughly 5.5 people per square mile. Wide open spaces with narrowing budgets. Manitoba's winters are brutally long. Sub-zero temperatures for months drive heating bills through the roof, and frequent cold snaps mean homes must be well insulated, which costs more to maintain. Rising electricity demand has pushed utility prices up by roughly 8% in the last 2 years, straining households already stretched thin. The province's diverse economy, agriculture, manufacturing, and services has helped buffer job losses, but not price inflation. Wages haven't kept up with living costs, leaving many middle-income families struggling. Insurance premiums, property taxes, and healthcare costs have all risen faster than the national average, chipping away at what once made Manitoba financially comfortable. The median home price is about $370,000 estimate, which is still below the national median, but mortgage rates, fuel prices, and property taxes have climbed steadily. Winnipeg, once known for low rent, has seen an 18% rent increase since 2022. Car insurance, mandatory and government-run, remains among the most expensive in Canada, while groceries and childcare costs are catching up to larger provinces. Manitoba still has its perks: rich culture, lakes, parks, and friendly people. Summer festivals and outdoor life make it feel priceless until the bills come due. Affordable on paper, Manitoba is becoming the perfect example of Canada's new reality, the hidden costs that make cheap living feel anything but.
Number 5. Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan has long been known as the land of opportunity: cheap homes, wide open spaces, and friendly small towns. But in 2026, even this prairie province is feeling the cost crunch. Population, about 1.2 million, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 251,000 square miles. Density, just 4.7 people per square mile. Lots of land, but rising living costs. Saskatchewan's extreme weather makes affordability unpredictable. Winters can hit minus 40 degrees Celsius, forcing months of heavy heating use, while summers bring droughts and hail that raise food prices and insurance premiums. The climate swings hit both wallets and local infrastructure. The province's economy depends heavily on agriculture, potash, and oil, all industries tied to global commodity prices. When markets drop, so do local paychecks, but costs never follow. Farm inputs like fuel and fertilizer have risen dramatically since 2020, filtering into higher food and transport prices for everyone. Even in Saskatoon and Regina, household budgets are tighter than ever. The median home price is around $340,000 estimate, which still sounds affordable until you add rising property taxes, car insurance, and fuel costs. Public transit is limited, so most residents depend on their vehicles, spending hundreds a month on gas and maintenance. Groceries have jumped by as much as 10% since 2023, especially in smaller towns where shipping adds extra fees. There's still a lot to love: friendly communities, beautiful prairies, and some of the most affordable land in Canada. But as bills rise and wages stagnate, Saskatchewan's promise of easy living is starting to fade. For many families, the province once seen as a safe financial bet now feels like a monthly balancing act. Number 4. Ontario Rural and Urban Divide. Ontario remains Canada's economic powerhouse, but it's also becoming the symbol of how success and affordability don't always go hand in hand. In 2026, even middle-income Ontarians are struggling to keep up. Population, about 15.7 million, 2026 estimate. Area, 415,000 square miles. Density, uneven, crowded cities and empty north. Ontario's climate adds hidden costs. Heavy snow in the north and humid heat in the south mean high energy use year-round. Extreme weather events, floods, ice storms, and wildfires have driven up insurance premiums and home repairs across the province. Toronto's booming tech and finance sectors inflate average wages, but most Ontarians don't see those salaries. Manufacturing and public sector workers face stagnant pay, while housing, food, and transport costs skyrocket. Even in smaller cities like London and Peterborough, families spend over half their income on shelter and utilities. Property taxes, car insurance, and grocery prices add another layer of strain. Those who move north for cheaper homes often face limited jobs and higher heating costs, a trade-off few can win. Ontario still offers everything: world-class universities, healthcare, and a thriving culture. But for many, the price of staying close to that opportunity is becoming unbearable. It's the province of possibility, but in 2026, that possibility is coming with a sticker shock that just won't quit. Number 3, Alberta. For years, Alberta was the land of affordable dreams: high wages, cheap homes, and low taxes. But by 2026, that reputation is starting to crack. Population about 4.9 million, 2026 estimate. Area roughly 255,500 square miles. Density about 19 people per square mile. Lots of land, but a shrinking affordability gap. Alberta's winters are harsh and unpredictable.
Temperatures can swing from mild to minus 30 degrees Celsius overnight, forcing homeowners to spend heavily on heating. Energy deregulation and supply issues have led to volatile power bills, with some households reporting monthly charges above $400 in peak winter. Wildfires and droughts also add to insurance and utility costs. Alberta's oil and gas economy has stabilized somewhat, but wage growth hasn't kept up with inflation. Groceries and housing costs in Edmonton and Calgary have surged, wiping out much of the province's historical affordability edge. Property insurance rates have jumped nearly 20% since 2022 due to weather-related risks. And while Alberta has no provincial sales tax, the savings are quickly being swallowed by everyday expenses. The median home price is now around $490,000 estimates, up more than 25% from pre-pandemic levels. Calgary's rents have surged past $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, a record high. Rising car insurance premiums and municipal property taxes add further pressure. Gas prices, once Alberta's pride, are climbing steadily, eating away at disposable income. Albertans still enjoy wide open spaces, job opportunities, and strong communities. But as costs rise faster than pay, the Alberta advantage that drew thousands eastward is losing its shine. The province built its image on opportunity, but in 2026, even opportunity has a price tag. Number 2, British Columbia. British Columbia has long been Canada's most beautiful and most expensive province, but in 2026, it's not just Vancouver that's out of reach. The cost crisis has spread across the province from Kelowna to Victoria. Population about 5.6 million 2026 estimate. Area about 364,000 square miles. Density around 15 people per square mile, but packed into high-cost cities. British Columbia's climate is milder than most provinces, but its affordability is anything but. The province's wildfire seasons are getting longer and more destructive, pushing home insurance premiums sky high. Rising utility costs and stricter environmental standards have increased renovation and heating expenses even in mild weather zones. The province's tech, film, and tourism sectors thrive, but wages haven't caught up to the cost of living. Median household income trails behind Alberta and Ontario, while housing and basic goods soar. Vancouver remains one of the least affordable cities in North America, with home prices averaging over $1.2 million estimate, and Victoria isn't far behind. Even in smaller towns like Kelowna or Kamloops, prices for rent and groceries rival big cities. BC residents face some of Canada's highest gas prices, food costs, and property taxes. A one-bedroom apartment in Vancouver rents for around $2,800 per month, while the average grocery bill for a family of 4 exceeds $1,400. Add in parking fees, transit passes, and insurance, and even six-figure incomes feel tight. There's no denying the draw. Ocean views, mountain hikes, and the mild climate make BC stunning. But for many, it's a beauty they can only afford to visit, not live in. British Columbia remains paradise, just one that comes with a luxury price tag. Number 1, Quebec. Quebec used to be the affordable alternative, rich in culture, generous in services, and easier on the wallet. But in 2026, even Quebec's legendary cost advantage is fading fast. Population, about 8.9 million, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 595,000 square miles. Density, around 15 people per square mile. Vast, diverse, and tightening financially. Quebec's winters are harsh and long. Heating is essential for nearly 8 months of the year, and electricity bills, once manageable, have jumped after recent rate hikes. Montreal's icy streets and freezing temperatures add maintenance costs, while rural regions spend heavily on heating oil or wood just to stay warm. The economy is stable, but wage growth hasn't matched inflation. Quebec's taxes remain the highest in Canada, and while healthcare and education are strong, they come at a cost. The price of essentials, groceries, transport, and even entertainment has risen faster than incomes. Montreal and Quebec City, once considered affordable, have seen rent increases of over 20% since 2022. And even smaller cities like Sherbrooke or Trois-Rivières are feeling the pinch. The median home price sits around $480,000 estimate, but property taxes, insurance, and heating quickly pile on. Groceries have jumped 9% in a year, and vehicle registration and daycare fees continue to climb. For many middle-class families, Quebec's famed affordable lifestyle has become a myth, replaced by monthly math that just doesn't work. Quebec still offers culture, art, and beauty found nowhere else in North America. The food, festivals, and heritage remain world-class. But the trade-off has become clear. Quebec's quality of life is still high, only now so is the cost to maintain it. Conclusion. Across Canada, the story is the same. From the Atlantic shores to the Pacific coast, the dream of affordable living is slipping away. Provinces once considered budget-friendly, like New Brunswick and Manitoba, are catching up to big city price tags. Meanwhile, powerhouses like Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia are stretching even the middle class to their limits. It's not just housing, it's everything. Groceries that cost 25% more than 3 years ago. Insurance premiums that spike after every storm. Gas prices that drain a full paycheck just to commute. And even though Canada's economy remains stable, the reality for millions of Canadians is simple. Paychecks are standing still, while everything else climbs higher. What's driving it? Experts point to a mix of inflation, population growth, global supply issues, and tight housing supply. But behind the headlines, there's a deeper issue. The cost of being Canadian has fundamentally changed. What used to be an affordable, middle-class lifestyle is now something people have to fight to keep. Still, there's resilience. Canadians are adapting, moving farther out, downsizing, working remotely, and demanding fairer wages. But every province tells the same story. The comfort that once defined Canadian life is slowly being priced out of reach. Maybe the bigger question isn't which province is most expensive, but how much longer ordinary Canadians can afford the lifestyle they've built. Which province surprised you the most on this list? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories revealing how the cost of living is reshaping Canada's future.